You are listening to the Uninformed States of America podcast with your host, Mike Riley, here on the Young Angels Network. Follow us by going to youngangelsnetwork.org, MikeRileyNow.com, and the USAPodcast.com. All right, everyone, and welcome to the USA Podcast. I'm Mike Riley, of course, your host. And so we are doing this thing called the Riley Now University Fund, where we want to give a lucky college student out there the opportunity to win $500 that can go towards any college expenses of your choice. If you're looking to buy new books, if you need a laptop, if you need to pay for some tuition, some gas, some food, whatever else the case may be, we want you to have a little assistance that goes towards your higher education expenses. And that's something that we're providing here for you here at the USA Podcast with the Riley University Fund, with the Riley Now University Fund. You can go to RileyNowUniversity.com to check that out and check out more about that. But the way to enter the contest is we want everybody out there to write a one-page essay about what I'm about to talk about right now. And what I'm about to talk about right now with my special guest is a topic that's very near and dear to me. And I'm talking about student loan debt. The student loan debt crisis, as many of you know, in this country is just out of control. We're one of the only developed nations in the world where we have just a mountain of student loan debt, where you can go into debt for trying to get a higher education. And although this is something that has been plaguing people for years, we have the new administration that's in right now. People are talking about ways to get through it with student loan debt forgiveness, maybe by extending some of the coronavirus relief for student loans. So we're going to talk about that, plus talk about ways we can get through it. And I have my very special guest here. I got my brother here from way out in the Midwest, my man Jay, who worked in the student loan industry. Jay, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really, really appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure to be here and inform your guests on what we can and can't do. So
yeah, man, absolutely. It's a really important topic. You know, student loan debt is just one of these things that, you know, for a lot of people, it plagues them for years. It's one of those it's kind of like that ball and chain people carry around with them after they graduate. I was talking to a lady not too long ago. She is in her 40s and she's still paying off student loan debt that she racked up back in the 90s. By going to school. So it's definitely a burdensome thing. So before we get down to the nitty gritty, let me ask you, so what did you do in the student loan industry? What was your role?
You could liken me to what you would call a supervisor and a social media expert, essentially. If you ever talk to Great Lakes Higher Education Corporation, which is who I worked for, and you saw on social media, Jay, that was me. If you asked for a supervisor, that was me too. I was what was known as an escalation specialist. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of the in-depth work where if you had a problem, I tried to fix it as best as I can. And because I was prior military, I handled a lot of the military cases as well too.
Absolutely, man. That's great. First of all, thank you so much for serving. I always got to say that. I know you probably get that a lot, but I show a lot of love to our military folk. But yeah, so you were the person. So you were kind of like a supervisor. So if somebody called in and they had an issue going on with their student loans and they say, hey, let me speak to your supervisor, you would be the person that they would talk to. What were some of the issues that you would run into that some people had normally?
A lot of the issues that I had were, why is my payment so high when they were on something called the income-driven repayment plan? Why didn't they qualify? What was going on with certain programs? How did specifically works? Very rarely did it come down to like a representative was having an issue, but it was a lot of just people wanting to understand maybe a little bit more and go in depth. And that's what we were trained on, was a lot of that in-depth knowledge. And I was able to run a lot of the maths and stuff behind it to help figure out why we are where we're at and how to further them with whatever they needed. So
yeah, absolutely. Kind of help them get through to help pay for their student loans, or help kind of facilitate how they can pay down their student loans.
Yeah, how to pay for it, or how to continue with whatever program they were in, or what works best for them given a specific situation. I do remember quite a few times where people were like, I don't know what would work for me. And they were just like, here's what I have. This is my situation. I'm like, all right, well, let's figure it out. So
yeah, man, that is crazy. It's crazy how paying for a higher education feels like you're paying off like a loan shark or a credit card company or something like that. But, you know, I went to college, didn't graduate, but I went to college. And I almost took out a student loan. I almost did it. But when I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh. Well, first of all, let me ask you before I even get into that, what
Yeah.
are some of the different types of student loans? I know there's federal student loans and there's private student loans. So one's a student loan coming from the government, which is the federal student loan. There's private student loans. Can you kind of explain the difference a little bit?
I mean, it's the way you put it was absolutely beautiful. There's federal student loans and private student loans. I think. Okay, it's been like a year and a half since I've actually been out of the game, so I do apologize. But I think it was like in the early 2000s, the government stepped in and said no more private loans, essentially. So a lot of student loans that are happening now are federal, because of some law or what. I just know the government was like, yep, we're done with private. But
Right.
private is exactly what you think. You know, you can't get a federal student aid. You go to Chase Bank, you go to Wells Fargo, you go to all
Right.
these private loans, and
Mm-hmm.
they set everything. Whereas with federal student loans, the federal government's like, here's everything that you need. Everyone gets the same thing. You know, you get it, I get it, Timmy, Sarah, whoever else has a student loan. If it's a federal student loan, that's what it is. Except for Parent Plus loans, they're a totally different beast. So
Oh wow, wow, wow. That's crazy. So that's crazy how the government got rid of it. And it's kind of like you kind of have to go through them. I can kind of understand that a little bit, I guess. Um, do you know what the average cost for a student would be to attend college?
it depends on what college you're going for. The
Right.
average I saw was between 30 to 60.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why I think the federal government stepped in, private loans are a disaster.
Mm.
Like, for you to qualify for something, it's like, like, are you a Midwesterner who's 45 and who smokes and plays on a softball league? Well, then you can do this, where it's like, well, I'm not that. So private loans were kind of a nightmare. Whereas with federal student loans, they were just like, here's the plans. They apply to everybody. Anybody can grasp it if you qualify. Whereas
Right.
with private loans, it was so specific. These terms were very specific. So
Right. Absolutely. Now, with these federal student loans that people get, there's the interest rates that are tackled on with it. And it kind of seems like it becomes a lot after a while. It starts to kind of build up. Like I said, when I was thinking about going to school and paying and taking out these student loans, I was thinking to myself, is it really worth it? Is it really worth me having to take out a $60,000 loan that I got to pay off with interest over the next however many years? Let me ask you, with you being in the student loan industry and seeing this stuff firsthand, do you think it's like worth it for people I mean, do you think there's a benefit to going to college and taking out this large amount of money that you're going to have to pay back for the rest of your life?
it depends. Like, a lot of the answer. I know that some people want black and white answers, and
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. It's complicated, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
like my little brother. His nickname is Yoshi, so I don't mind throwing it out there.
Oh
Uh,
man. Yeah. From Mario. Yeah.
yeah, from Mario.
Mario Brothers. Yeah.
So he had a mix of federal and private loans, and then an ex-girlfriend of mine did it all, through grants and everything else like that.
Mhm.
She took till she was like 26, 25 or 26 to graduate for free. But then, Yoshi, he went, I think it was 6 years, did his thing, and he's making bank. Like, he's doing excellent,
Oh,
with
right.
what he's doing. Um, he moved down to Chicago, basically where you got to be making some money to survive there. He's got
Right.
a very decent house. So, I mean, it really depends on it, but you have to look at it as, is it something that you want? Can you see yourself going for this? Because I've met people who are very finicky and jump left to right. Next thing you know, they have $75,000 worth of debt and they have no direction.
Yeah.
So I would say, think about it long and hard. And yeah, you're 18, 19, trying to make that decision. Sit down with a financial advisor, sit down with your parents, sit down with somebody who can help guide you along the way.
Right.
But I mean, if you're taking a look at something and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be a NASA engineer, and it's really panning out for you, by all means, go for it, man.
Yeah, take out that loan, right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, for others people that like, I want to be a basket weaver, but I got to pay $60,000 to go to college. That could be a pretty that could be a daunting thing to have
Oh
to
yeah.
look at, over the years. With you being in that industry, what are some of the kind of like horror stories that you got when it came to student loans, if any?
Well, I have one that still sticks with me to this day, and It was like I had to step away from my desk.
Wow.
This was back when being LGBTQ plus. I don't know the terminology. I want to be PC as possible with it.
You and me both, man. So,
That whole alphabet of awesomeness that's there.
yeah, there you go.
She had gone to school, had come out, and been kicked out. So she couldn't get her degree. She couldn't get anything, and she was stuck with like $80,000. And she was just. I looked at so many different things, and it was like, I can't help you.
Right.
There was nothing I could do, and I was just like, banana sandwich. Like, this is I've got nothing. I've got nothing. And basically the only thing that she could do was go into default and run this cycle. And that happens to people.
Yeah.
Schools will jack somebody up for the dumbest of reasons. And I was just like, there's nothing I can do. But, there are some awesome stories out there as well, too. So
how often do you think people have to file for bankruptcy due to student loans? I know a lot of people have to file for bankruptcy due to their medical bills. I mean, I think half the bankruptcies in the United States are due to medical bills, but there's another large chunk that is due to student loans. What happens if somebody has to default on that loan and they can't pay it?
There are many programs that a lot of people don't realize that are out there. The income driven repayment plan is obviously the best one that we have. But when you default on a federal student loan, you talk to the default company and they basically offer you a very modified income driven repayment plan, where if you hit all the criteria, I think it's 9 to 12 payments, or 9 months or 12 payments that fit that criteria. You come out of default, and then you come back into regular student loans where we take care of you again. What's it called? Bankruptcy. That was always kind of finicky because I don't think it worked all the time on some student loans. I think it had something to do with the year the student loans were taken out, or how, like, I remember bankruptcy was weird. I dealt with it for like a brief moment, and then I was like, no, I'm not dealing with lawyers and stuff like that. So I got out of that. I transferred to the social media department.
I feel you on that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this. All these questions I was asking you right now is the current state of student loans. It's the current state of it. It's the current state of, I got to go into debt if I, want to go to school. It seems like it's the ultimate income inequality to me, because in order to get a higher education, I either have to be well off or wealthy, especially if I want to get a higher education at some prestigious college like Harvard or something like that, which probably costs an arm and a leg, or I have to go into debt. What are your feelings on debt-free college? Do you think the United States or society in general can benefit from having debt-free college or having college for free? Look at other countries that that actually do this. Do you think there's a benefit to that, just based off of your experience in the student loan industry?
I mean, I've seen a lot of the negatives that come with, student loans, and a lot of the negative that comes with actually attending a university where people do get to go for free. So I'm a little biased on it. I don't think it necessarily needs to be completely free, but I think that we need to do something where it incentivizes the individual to go to college. Because if there's no incentive, and you get somebody who's like me, who's a procrastinator, you might just go, yeah, exactly. You might just be like, I missed 2 days. What's another third day? If there's some sort of incentive to give back to society, I think it would be a great thing. We definitely do need to contact, all the places that do the free medical care, or sorry, not medical care, but the free healthcare and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say there. Words are hard, but yes.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're trying to say. Yeah.
We need to take a playbook out of there and just be like, how do we do this? How do we implement this? And I think it would definitely benefit society for a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that forgiving all of the student loan debt we have right now, that all these people have, do you think that might be a good idea? It's been talked about. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, because it's been talked about. I know Joe Biden did something recently. I don't think he forgave student loan debt. He's been talking about it, but I think he extended the period.
0%.
The 0% interest rates, right? That's what it was. He extended
extension.
Right. He gave an extension where you can pay 0% interest on your student loans for up to a certain period. But there, people like AOC and people like her are talking about forgiving student loan debt, forgiving student debt, which would be hard, seeing how high our deficit is right now. We really don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
But do you think that would be a good idea to forgive all? I mean, I know a lot of people would be pissed who've already paid their student loans, but what are your thoughts on just student loan forgiveness?
I think a system needs to be put in place.
Mm,
Something needs to, but because there's a public service loan forgiveness, there's the income driven repayment plan loan forgiveness,
mhm.
disability discharge, and then the closed school. Those are the four that we actually have in place right now. If something else is in place, I think people need to qualify for it. I don't think we just need to outright just go boom, gone,
Yeah,
because you're right. A lot of people would get very upsetty spaghetti.
yeah.
So
I love your terminology, man.
you work in a call center for 6 years and you can't just go, fuck, you
Yeah, right?
you gotta come up with something.
You gotta come with
So yeah.
Absolutely, man. Let me ask you this, man. We're calling this section student debt survival because there are people out there who are swimming in this student loan debt. A lot of to me, it's something that is kind of holding a lot of people back when it comes to education. I know, for example, I know a lot of people who don't have health insurance, for example. And if something happens to them, they get hurt or they got a lump growing on the back of their neck, they're like, I don't want to go to the doctor because it'll make me broke. It'll cost a lot of money. There are a lot of people out there who have that same premonition when it comes to higher education. I just can't afford it, and it's not worth it to really take out that student loan. And for the people that do, they're swimming in that debt. Is there a way for those students out there who are swimming in that debt, or for the people out there who are worried about accumulating a lot of debt by taking on student loans? What is the way? What's the plan to pay it back, to survive this? Are there programs out there? Are there things out there in place that can help navigate these students to help pay back their loans in a way that's not so burdensome?
You're a student loan company. I mean, in all honesty, that is literally what we were there for. Yes, we have a script. Yes, we have to do things a very specific way. But 95% of the time, I can tell you that I would get through my script with the answers that you gave me, and then I could start kind of free-forming it. I could talk about what we needed to talk about. There's a couple things that I think you need to focus on when it comes to paying your student loans back. Number one, be open and honest with us. The more open and honest you are with us, the easier it is. And when I say us, I mean the student loan company.
Right.
If you're open and honest with us, we can help you in the best ways possible because we know all of it. Talking about money, yeah, it's taboo. Open up. Just tell us what's going on. Don't be shy. And we don't have quotas. We don't, we're not commission based. We're not anything. We are literally there, paid by the Department of Education to be there to talk to you and help you figure out what you need to do that best suits you. Everybody's got a different plan. Some people like to pay off the small interest rates first. Some people like to pay down the big interest rates first. Some people like to do it X, Y, or Z. So whatever it is you feel is best, given your information, talk to your student loan company, get more information from them, and they can help you. They will literally walk you through everything you could ever want to know. We will give you the information. We'll show you on the forms where to find everything. We will walk you through how to fill out the forms, and we will even help you submit them too if you wanted to. Man. It's not that hard. Just have a fully charged phone and maybe access to the internet, and that's about all you need to sit there and help us.
Things. That's what's up. What's the income driven repayment plan? What is that?
It's exactly what it sounds like. It is a payment plan for your student loans based off of your income.
I see.
So what it is that if I remember the math correctly, we take your I think it's your gross pay minus the poverty line for where you're at. And I actually pulled that up here. Okay. So if you're family size of one, this is from the Oregon Center of Public Policy. But basically, it's like 12. I just looked at it. 12,500. So if I make, say, 12, if I make 12,500 and they subtract the 12,500 from the poverty line, my income is technically zero, which means my payments would be zero.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, your monthly payments can actually be $0 a month. It happens all the time. I talk to people all the time when I was a frontline agent, and we'd be like, yeah, your monthly payment is zero, and your monthly payment literally is zero. Plus, there's a lot of benefits that come with the income-driven payment plan, like subsidies, where the government will help cover some of the interest that is accruing as long as you keep up to date, and then you have to redo it every year. I mean, based on your income, your payment could be as little as like $0, like I said, or it could be like 75 or
Yeah.
even, 500, but it's all based off your income. The biggest thing with that, don't send us a check that has excess income on it. If if you make $10 an hour, you work 40 hours a week, and that's a base paycheck, just send us that paycheck.
Wow.
Because if you're making if you make overtime or there's a bonus on there, a lot of the times we'll look at that and go, that's normal for you, So
It's so technical, but it's
yeah.
something that a lot of people need to actually do. And I'm glad you're saying all this stuff because I think, like I said, student debt survival is important. I think it's a thing a lot of people need to hear because I know there are a lot of people out there struggling with this and they have questions about all this kind of stuff. And it's good that they have, they have someone or that they can listen to this and actually take some of this information and use it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Let me ask you just a couple more questions here.
Sure.
I love this conversation. I love getting all this information, man. I'm an information junkie. Let me ask you this just from a personal kind of standpoint. What's your biggest complaint about student loans just in general?
I didn't learn an education. I didn't get anything out of it. I got a stupid piece of paper. A lot. This is worthless. It's like, well, what degree did you go? What degree did you go for, and what are you trying to do?
Right.
Obviously, with me being in the military, I was a cop in the military. Okay, what skills do I have to try to get out? Obviously working student loans was a drastic difference.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just have that complaint. I didn't learn anything. I didn't get my degree, and then, just kind of all the, it's worthless. That was the biggest cheese complaint.
It wasn't worth it for me to pull out $60,000 to get this piece of paper.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not to be too mean to some people, but it's kind of well, look at what you did.
Yeah.
Look at
exactly.
what So
yeah, no, I completely understand that. My last question for you, Jay, and thank you so much, man. And like I said, I think it's really cool how you were in the military and everything like that. And it's cool because when you join the military, I think does the GI Bill pay for your education?
It paid for the vast majority of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, it pays for the value. And I know a lot of my friends were in the military as well. So, and it's funny because I always talk about, is it called contrition? Is that when you have to go?
Conscription.
Conscription. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Words, like you said. But yeah, a lot of countries, they have the mandatory conscription where people have to join and then they get the benefits of it. They get the benefits of being able to, of whatever the country offers. You get the healthcare, the free school, all that kind of stuff. I think it's like that in Israel. It's like that in Austria or one other, Germany, or a couple other countries like that as well.
Yeah.
I think. What do you think about that? Do you think that might be a interesting idea?
I've seen quite a few people benefit from joining at a very young age. I've become very rigid and disciplined. I've seen some people who are, for lack of a better phrase, punks. Just these individuals, and they get their world turned upside down on them, and you're like, you're not as punky as you were before, and you come out a very different individual. And you can take that term however you want it because it means different things for different people. And that's what I saw: a wide variety of people turned into adults, for lack of a better phrase. But I think that conscription might not be the best thing for people because it literally isn't for everybody. But I mean, with going back to what you were talking about with the free student loans, there could be different ways that people could give back.
Yeah, absolutely.
With one of the jobs, it was called hvac. I forget what it stands for, but basically people that work on air conditioners and stuff. Dudes and women and anybody would come into the military for 2 years, learn about HVAC, fix all that stuff on the desert, and then they'd come back home and they'd be fully certified, fully licensed. They can literally walk into any job that does HVAC, and they're just good to go right out the door. Don't need any extra schooling because the military teaches you everything. Mm-hmm. So in some regards, the military is fantastic. They'll teach you, certify you, kick you out the door, and you can be done in 2 to 4 years, whatever you like. Right. But other jobs like me, when I joined, I had to still go back to school unless I wanted to be in some podunk town in Texas and, be a sheriff, and I was not about to uproot from Wisconsin where all my family lived.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Very cool. Well, Jay, I have one last question for you. What is the advice you would give to all of the students out there who are listening, who are dealing with student loans right now?
If I can give 2 pieces of advice, that'd be great. Number one, if anybody ever tells you that they are going to charge you for assistance, bail so hard, so fast. Mm-hmm. It is a scam, and they are probably doing something illegal. I've literally talked to them. I've talked to some of the scam artists and I schooled them. I'm pretty sure I made him quit his job. But like, yeah, because everything they do is completely wrong, and they're accessing your FAFSA, which is highly illegal. If I were to access your FAFSA, even if you were like, yeah, help me out with this, I can't do that. That's straight illegal. You have to do it by yourself. And then the second option is if you're ever in trouble, just call your lender. I know it sucks. I know talking about money is horrible. Just call your student loan company. They can try to at least help you. Worst case scenario, they're like, we really can't help you. There's nothing, but you've exhausted all your options. You've talked to them in depth, and they can at least work with you and try to work with you. So.
Right, for sure. Well, Jay, man, thank you so much, brother, man. I really appreciate you coming on the USA podcast and giving us this information. We call it dropping jewels on us. When we're getting some good education, especially when it comes to student loans and student debt survival. Because student debt survival to me is important. It's something I'm passionate about. I'm very passionate about, debt-free college and student loan forgiveness and us joining the rest of the developed world. At least that's how I look at it. That's my opinion. Yeah. To me, education is a right. It shouldn't be a privilege for those who are wealthy, and you shouldn't have to go into debt just so you can get a higher education. So, but Jay, God bless you for what you do, my man. Thank you so much. Y'all make sure you log on to RileyNowUniversity.com and register and sign up if you are a college student. Take what you heard from this conversation, write the one-page essay, submit it. You get all the information at RileyNowUniversity.com. You get a chance to win $500 towards any higher education expenses that you may have. You can buy yourself, put it towards a laptop, put it towards some food, put it towards some gas, some rent, some tuition, whatever you need. We're here to help. So thank you guys so much, and peace. Thank you so much, Jay.
You're welcome, man.
You are listening to the Uninformed States of America podcast with your host, Mike Riley, here on the Young Angels Network. Follow us by going to youngangelsnetwork.org, MikeRileyNow.com, and the USAPodcast.com.